Thank you, Tina.
Yes.
Michelle, it's really exciting and important to have you as a participant in this project because people need your story. Because it's not Michelle's, it's not mine, it's yours, but others will learn more from yours than most likely from mine because they'll relate to you. And so that's why the 30+1 is important to me, that we have 30+1 participants, because one of those stories in there is going to be like a heat-seeking missile to somebody, and they're going to go, I never knew.
Yeah, right. So stories are important, absolutely, without a doubt.
And it's just not the story, it's the person. It's you, your look, your image, your life. And that's what they're going to respond to. As much as I'd like them to respond to mine equally, some of them, it's going to be all about you. And that's exactly what we're after.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's important. You never know who you can touch when you tell your story, without a doubt. It can really change people and that change their life and their trajectory, what they're doing or how they're looking at something.
I so agree. I got to read the famous author Og Mandino many years ago, somewhere between my third and fifth life-altering cancer surgeries and treatments. And he just, my mind seemed to go 1,000% bigger on opportunities, and threats became challenges more often. And it was like, one man, one book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's amazing how that happens, right? You just never know.
Yes. So
I've heard one time, Tina, they say that you can take 20 years, 30 years, and it's contemplating, but it just takes that little trigger. It takes that, and that's the story. And it's just that relating, connecting, and then all of a sudden, wait, oh my goodness. And you said something earlier, and that's, and I've kind of been in that space, not really kind of being aware, and that was, didn't really realize just how much you impact people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be ready for it. Almost, it's like people can tell you something and you can be like, whatever, it blows right over your head because you're just not quite there yet in your life. And then that's why it's important to be persistent with some people. Not persistent, but just be there.
Politely persistent has been my mantra.
Yeah. And because then at some point they're ready to hear it and they're ready to take action.
Yes. Yeah. The teacher will arrive when the student's ready.
That's right.
How many people told me what Og Mandino told me, and as much as I believed it in some ways, I hadn't made it all areas of my life.
Right.
He comes along and it was like, I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere, 100% of the time, no excuses. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've only been doing this part-time in some areas. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were ready to hear it and you were ready to accept it and you were ready to take action. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a remarkable thing. So it's exciting.
It is.
So, as you go forward with this and we go forward and we launch, what do you want people to take away from your story?
That there is hope, that there is information to be open, to be willing to accept, and to feel empowered. And to just, because people go through life experiencing a lot of different things. And it's hard to be a parent. It's hard to raise children, especially when you're talking about blended families. And then you throw in a lot of things that go on in that situation, in that family, and people feel lost. And then you throw in, again, more special needs little guy, and people don't know where to go, what to do, who to listen to, where to turn. And I just want people to come out of this with, there's hope, and to be persistent, and to be tenacious, and to be, like I said, accepting.
Those are big attributes, but when they're delivered by different people in different ways, I think that's going to be the power of your message, is that you'll deliver it different than Michelle or myself or the other 20+ authors.
Yeah. It's funny because of everything that's going on with my husband and I, when we blended this family together, I've had more people tell me, God, you need to write a book. Holy smokes. And I'm like, yeah.
We know a good editor.
Yeah, I understand that. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are all people like Tina, everybody that just shared that with you, they're going to want to read it. They know people that are going to want to read it. It's a where I get this question asked a lot, like, how does this work and what do we do? And I'm fairly transparent, and we just know you go, you write a book, good number of, there's publishing companies out there, the old traditional publishing company. And I used to many years ago work for John Wiley and Sons. So they're an international, like they're global. They do a ton of curriculum for the what we call K to 12, a ton of curriculum for the post-secondary, which is the higher level of ed. So you get your colleges and universities and all of that, and then they do it in trade. And so way back, I was all fascinated by this, and I worked for them, and so you get a big familiarity with, oh, this is how publishing works. Oh my goodness. Okay, the print's going down, and this was all pre-internet. But then internet came in, and all of a sudden things accelerated going forward. But it doesn't. Like that industry is very, very alive, if not very much more now, just on like online or different ways. But it never took away from whys. But what I found amazing was if someone is just kind of like in the industry of just strictly publishing, that's it. We just want to publish your book. Well, how do you know how to market it? How do you know the social media world? How do you know what really connects it? Because it's like, I get asked this question a lot. I want to build my brand. Or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And when you kind of think about it, and this was interesting because we had a conversation yesterday around this with another client, and it shows up everywhere. And it really kind of comes down to, as someone kind of makes that decision, they want to get the story out there. Okay. Or they have a business and then they want to get a story through and they want to grow that business or grow that brand or what it is that they're giving and offering. Well, as they're doing that, simplicity is, it's all about continuing to expose it and expose it and expose it and expose it, and expose it, which is marketing. So I'm kind of more of the believer of, well, if we're going to work together, we're going to work together long term to continue to grow, continue to lift it up, to continue to market it, as opposed to the old fashioned traditional world of, great, thank you very much, we're going to take your money and wish you all the best of luck and here's your book.
Yeah,
honey.
See you later. Right.
I'm so opposite of that. It's not funny.
And I have met people who have paid large 5 figures to get published.
Yep.
And haven't sold 100 copies because that's not what they are good at.
Right.
And it's painful to know that they paid $30,000, $40,000, $45,000.
Yeah.
I have a brother-in-law going right down there. I mean, he's doing great. But it's just sort of like, this was your goal, one of your dreams. It's like, now you've got this wonderful book, but it's like, you should, like, I want to see it on fire. I want to see it everywhere. And we're in this amazing world that we don't have bricks and mortar anymore. We're virtual.
Right.
So, but it's how we navigate that, so that's kind of our resiliency for stories is part and parcel of kind of high five, which is a little bit of it's culture, it's belief, it's how we're continuing to grow this.
Yeah.
And it just
it's also interesting, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this, quite frankly. Yeah,
well,
really am.
I believe that in lifting you up and you lifting others up, it lifts us up because it's an upward, positive spiral, because there's so much nastiness and negativity. The research from the 80s I read, Dr. Shad Helmstetter, who wrote a book on self-talk, I am, I can, can't, can, all that powerful internal dialogue and how it spills out and shares with people who we really are. In his book, he shared that the research he came across that something like 81% of the average person's internal dialogue was framed in the negative.
Yeah.
81%. So from my sales days, I remember a client that said, "You're too happy."
You're too happy. Yeah. Interesting.
And so Helmstetter really helped me, give me a framework to understand my 2 family dynamics. One family, there'd been a murder, and so they were all hunkered down in, we got to stay extra safe and the world's out to get us. Fair enough to visit, but allows you to live in for generations. Yeah. And the other family, isn't it great? We're in Canada. We're safer than we used to be, and we have what we need. We only have the necessities because we've been through a depression, but we're all here and we're all safe. And isn't life amazing and beautiful? And it's like, with these 2 families merging through my parents marrying, it was like, I felt like a tennis match.
Right.
This side, get this point of view. Get this side, get this point of view. And nobody was wrong.
Yeah. But it's all how you look at it, right? Exactly.
We need that Helmstetter framework and your message and Michelle's message, and I'd like to think mine, because it balances life out and helps us move forward and upward to accomplish more and achieve more, to help others lift others up. And that's why having you here is a very exciting thing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm so glad that I was introduced to you guys.
Very
And
good.
us to you,
So
even if we do have audio issues on occasion.
I know, right? Hey, that's what makes life fun, right?
you know,
It's
we're
just-
here. You know what? We'll learn from the younger generation, and they're going to learn from us too.
Exactly.
And
And
direction.
it's clear I said audio issues. I didn't say you were odd. The sound was odd.
Right.
I like my clarity,
Right.
but I also like to play the fool.
Yeah. But we persevered. See, we persevered. We worked together as a team and persevered.
Yeah.
That collaborative issue. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Happens
So-
all the time.
When you're not writing a chapter in a book, what do you do, Tina? You blend
My
it.
goodness. Yeah. So I wear many hats, is what I say. So my husband and I own a business. We've owned since 1997. It's a seasonal business. I live in Michigan, in the States. We own a swimming pool service business. So we're off in the winters and then, start back up again right when the weather breaks and goes to the end of October. I
You put in a
also,
lot of long hours, I'm guessing.
well, I mean, yeah, no, my husband's kind of got it down to a science now, if you will. I do all the inside work. So I'm on the phone doing all the accounting, doing all that stuff while he's out with our guys, opening and closing swimming pools, redoing them, maintaining, so on and so forth. I also substitute for a preschool. So I have just, I get called in for long-term sub jobs when somebody's either ill or, like, for example, now this woman had a baby. So I'm teaching her 3-year-old class. So that's always fun. I enjoy being with children. Yeah, really enjoy it. So this stint is going to be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which is great because then I have my Tuesdays and Thursdays available to me. I'm also a grandma. So my oldest son and his lovely companion friend, they're not technically married, but that's okay. They have 3 lovely children. So I get my 2 youngest grandchildren here once a week. So that's just a blast. Love that.
And
I'm a mom. Yeah. And I'm a mom again in my 50s. So when our birth youngest was to head off to college, we got custody of our special needs little grandson. My stepdaughter made some poor decisions in life. So we were thrust upon being parents again. I was in my early 50s, my husband in the late 50s, and we adopted him the following year. So my life also revolves around parenting a little guy. He's now 10. And that's a big part of my story is that. Well, I could go on and do stories even before he came along with when the older kids of our blended family went on. But so that's basically what keeps me busy. I'm always moving. My mom is 91 years old. She lives nearby us. So I'm in touch with her every day and see her as much as possible, which is fun. And yeah, we have 3 dogs, crazy little house. So it's fun.
So,
Wow,
but that
other
gives you
souls.
a large number of viewpoints on the 360-degree compass of life, if you will. You just not got that one narrow point of view. You got a large amount of experience in a wide number of areas, which helps inform you when you make decisions. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. The resilience aspect has been going on all my whole life, I would say. With my dad and my mom, and my dad being an entrepreneur and being ill for many years when I was in high school, and just how life comes. I mean, really, it's the decisions, the experiences we go through, how we react to those experiences, how we come out on the other side.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Use that as you realize how strong you really are. The next thing comes at you, because it will. You're just a little more apt to be able to handle it, maybe in a little better way. And like you mentioned, it's how you look at things, right? You can say, oh, poor me. Oh my God, everything keeps happening, and fall into that victim mode. Or you can be on the other side and be, no, okay, do it head on, find a way to resolve what needs to happen, or at least deal with it and try to go on the other side and again, learn.
And learn to me is the key phrase, because in talking to Michelle about these things, learn some more.
Yeah.
We're on the earth to learn. So, but learn, I think we're on the earth to learn, but there's something that I've kind of uncovered, and it's really more in the last year. And it's, yeah, we're on the earth to learn, but we're also in control. As much as we don't,
Mhm.
oh no, we are in control. But if we've conditioned our brain to respond to the oh poor pity me, we can
Mhm.
recondition it to lift up. But in order to do that, yeah, there's one more cable we got to work through, but that's where we start thinking and reaching, if you will, to those that have been there. It could be the story, it could be anything
Mhm.
that you touch, and then it just gives them a bit of hope, so that there's the
Yep.
next step. Oh my goodness, and then more good happens, and then more good happens, and then eventually
Right.
it's not as overcomplicating as we think it is, and then it really just becomes how we're reacting, and then we recognize, wow, we conditioned ourselves. Oh, we're reacting in this positive manner where things really are getting better. Maybe I'm going to trust and believe. Oh my goodness, maybe back in the day and all those books that were written, I understand what they were trying to convey now.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you're not ready, but you read the book, maybe you're putting in a layer of fertilizer that you can reactivate later.
Right. Right.
Because
Exactly. Yeah.
Og Mandino didn't say anything my father hadn't said to me or my mother hadn't said to me, but he said it in a different way that, oh, I just want to apply this just to my health or just to work. I'll do this in every category. Oh.
You're right. Light bulb. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So yes, so this is great to have you here, and Michelle has gone off screen, or we've lost her, but
Okay.
Sorry guys, I wear a few hats.
Yes.
So I'm multi, yeah, it's, I wear a few hats. You
Well,
know,
you were looking fashionable,
everything.
and then you were looking fabulous, and it was like, wait a minute, you can't stand it that well.
Michael knows the drill. At this kind of stage, you get a little warm, you get hot. You get warm, you get hot. And then, you know what, but it's all good.
I tease people that I'm old enough to be in menopause.
I like
there you go. Yes.
You know what?
Perfect.
It's very funny you say that, Michael, because, you know, there's people just kind of, we make these assumptions. Oh, just women go through this. No, men go through it too. It's just not talked about. It's not, but we're all going through that, you know, like we women, I remember hearing it a long time ago, they'd say every 7 years, it's kind of this system change. But you know what, men go through too. But that's another story, another book, another, you know, but it's true.
I want a chapter in that book because
Okay.
grade 5, when my body said girls are more interesting than boys, it was a hard year to concentrate. I would get flashes just from the teacher's smile. Couldn't barely think. And I've seen the class picture with Miss Stortenbeker there, and it's like, well, she was a nice lady, but she couldn't have been dressed more modestly. But when she smiled, I couldn't think. My brain just stopped, and I'd get hot flashes from my toes, up my legs, up the back, up the front. It was like, whoa! That's quite a year. Thank heavens I had Mr. Bice next year. Back to normal.
That's funny. You guys crack me up.
I think that, well, I know that this book will change lives, move people forward, and help them see life in a new perspective. So, Tina, with Michelle as part of the team, me and the other 20 plus, I look forward to a day where we do a conference, whether it's virtual or in person, because you're close. You can come up the highway, we go down the highway, we meet in the whatever. And so I see that the world is starting to cleave into two parts. My way or the highway, or, oh, we should help each other out and learn things.
Yeah.
And having family members be in politics, I see the price that politicians pay if they're any good. Lack of time, because the whole world wants a piece of them 24 hours a day, and 1 or 2% are nasty people, and will find out where you live and tell you to your face at your front door at 11 o'clock in the evening. And so your message and Michelle's and the other 20 of us and myself included, this is going to make an impact. And I just want us to all think on how are we going to reach people? We're going to do a weekly broadcast through YouTube, or are we going to do a daily up? So I ask our people that see this, leave us a note below. What do you want from 30+1 resiliency stories? Because I've got programming to capture on camera, but I don't have all the answers. I'm certainly reading the research. And one of the smartest men in the world on resiliency has started to talk about resiliency is the baseline. Let's talk about flourishing.
Abundance.
Resilient.
Yes.
And move past surviving into thriving. But
Yeah.
that's not enough. Let's look at what people at the top of their game are. They're flourishing. So look at a Canadian astronaut who played a guitar solo in space and sang a famous song that a famous musician gave him permission to do, David Bowie's song. I mean, that's flourishing at the highest level. And when you read his book, which I've read twice now because I wanted it to stick, and he talked about it's not just good enough to optimize and realize. He said, you do have to be realistic. Because I call myself a realistic optimist. You have to plan. So I thought, oh yeah, get a will made. You have to realize that at some point, you might not be in peak physical condition. How will you manage your health? What will your attitude be? So when I told people I'd visualized my own funeral and visualized my parents' funeral and visualized success and failure, people go, why would you do success? That's bad karma. I said, no. I'm being in charge. I'm being controlled. I didn't spend days. I just went, at my funeral, I want them to remember me this way. So I better behave that way. I don't want a tombstone. I want to fertilize a pine tree or an oak tree somewhere. So that new California trend where they put your head first or feet up, whatever, and plant an acorn on top of you and you fertilize the tree for so many years. I went, yeah, then they could make furniture and rest their elbows on me. Just because who wants to think normally? That's boring and it doesn't help you reach potential. So I want people watching this to tell me, what do they want from resiliency and 30+1 stories? What do they want from us? What do they need from us?
Perfect. I can't wait to see what everybody writes.
Awesome.
Me too.
It's as I share with Michael, Tina, it's just the beginning.
Absolutely. We are in launch mode.